Introduction to computer system. By definition, what about a computer? What do you know? A computer is an electronic machine which is used to perform any specific task that accepts uh, instructions or inputs from the user, and it gives user defined output. Okay, computer always accepts the instructions or inputs from the user. As a user, we can give only instruction to the system. We cannot process, we cannot do anything. We can give only instruction to the system will process over it, and it will give the user defined output. Okay, so by definition, a computer is an electronic device that input data, process data, and outputs and stores information. So after that, computers are controlled by program instruction that transform the data into meaningful information. So for that, you have to know one difference between data and information. So what do you know about data and what is information? So data is the input that you are giving from the keyboard or any other input device. Okay, so information, after processing over the data, it will give the information, that is the meaningful result, that is information. Okay, about data and information, I have prepared one slide for you, so I will discuss later. Generally, a computer is a device that accepts inputs, process it, stores data, and produce output. Information processing cycle. So how computer work? So here see steps followed to process data: input, processing, output, and storage. So the user can input, the computer can process, and will give the output, and it can store. Input. So what about the input? Information provided to the computer by a person, the environment, or another computer. Examples of inputs: word as symbols, numbers, picture, audio signals from the microphone, signals from another computer, temperature, speed, pressure, etc. from sensors. Here, after giving the input, it can process over it. Processing, manipulation of data, that is known as processing. Data are the symbols that represent raw facts, objects and ideas about the people, place, events, and things that are of importance in an organization. A computer program or software is a series of instructions that tell a computer how to carry out the processing task. Example of processing. So what it can process? It can process arithmetic calculation, that means mathematical calculations. Sorting a list. It can arrange elements either ascending or descending order, that is sorting. Modifying pictures, drawing graphs. Output. So what about output? The result produced by the computer after processing data. Output device display, prints, or transmit the results after processing. Example of outputs: images on a monitor, printed documents, sound signals to device controllers. So these are the outputs. So now the important thing is memory and storage. So what about the memory? Memory, what do you know, is the space where we can store data during store data either temporarily or permanently. Okay, it's the place where we can store data. Okay, that is the memory. The area of a computer that temporarily holds data that is being processed or writing to be processed, stored or output, that is memory. Okay, so memory is divided here as memory and storage. So primarily it has shown as memory. After that, when permanently you are going to store, that is said as storage here. So directly you can say that that is a place where we can store data either temporarily or permanently. Okay, so permanently where we are going to store, that is known as storage. Example of storage is magnetic disk is there, CD-ROM is there, magnetic tabs, flash disk, memory card, floppy disk. These are the secondary storage. So memory classification also I have given here, so you'll get here. So see, parts of a computer system. Computer can be divided like this: hardware is there, software is there, data, and users. So hardware means already you know the physical components that we can see or we can touch, that is tangible, we can say as hardware. And the software, that is intangible. And the set of instruction you can say as software, so we will discuss later. So here see parts of a computer system. Computer hardware. A computer hardware consists of electronic devices. The parts you can see and touch. And in other words, these tangible parts of a computer. The term device refers to any piece of hardware used by the computer, such as keyboard, monitor, modem, mouse, etc. These are the hardwares. Okay. Computer hardware components are these: see, display device, LCD, system unit, floppy disk, CD-ROM, hard disk, keyboard, mouse, etc. These are the hardwares. Other hardware components: DVD is there, CD is there, sound card and speakers, modem, printer. These are the hardware. Peripheral, that means add-on. What you can say add-on, that means you can add if you want, like see, printer is there, digital camera, scanner, joystick. So the peripheral devices designates equipment that might be added to a computer system to enhance its functionality. Okay. So processing device processing device is mainly there in the system, that is CPU, central processing unit, that you can say. So here the procedure that transforms raw data into useful information is called processing. Okay. The inputs or the instructions that we can give to the system are raw data, so it has to convert to meaningful information for the output, so that can be do by the system, that is known as processing. The processor is like the brain of a computer. organize organize and carries out instructions from either the user or software, manipulate data. Most computers have several processors, central processing unit. Okay. So now say input and output devices. So about the input and output devices, already you know, input devices, the devices which can give instruction to the system, and the output devices means the devices through which we will get the user defined output. Okay. And the communication devices is also there to perform both input and output, allowing computers to share information. Storage device, the devices where we can store data permanently, these are known as storage device. The purpose of storage device is to hold data permanently even when the computer is turned off. Okay. Storage device hold data not currently being used by the CPU. The data is commonly stored in a magnetic or optical disk. So a disk drive is a device that reads data from and write data to a disk. Most new computers feature a floppy disk drive, a hard disk drive, and an optical disk drive. Actually, these different types of drives you will get. Floppy is there, which is not used nowadays, and magnetic is there, that is hard disks you can say, and floppy is also in magnetic, and optical CD, DVD, Blu-ray. The most common optical storage device is CD-ROM or DVD-ROM. Memory is the space where you can store data permanently or temporarily. Memory is an internal storage area in a computer which is availed to store data and programs either permanently or temporarily. Computer memory is broadly divided into two groups, there, primary and secondary memory. Now see, memory can be divided as primary memory and secondary memory. So that is, you can say, as a classification, this is the classification of memory. Here see, memory can be divided as primary and secondary. Primary memory can be divided as RAM and ROM, which are initially used, and secondary memory, that you can say as storage, where permanently you can store. And here in primary memory, that is RAM and ROM is there. RAM is temporary but ROM is permanent here. Okay. So in RAM you can store data temporarily during the execution of a program. Okay. And here in ROM you can store data permanently. Actually ROM we are not going to use, that is used by the manufacturer of the motherboard during the at the time of manufacturing. When motherboard is manufacturing, then some instruction it has to load by default to the system, like when you are turning on the system, then automatically the system knows that it has to load the operating system from hard disk to RAM, because operating system is a program. When a program is executing, during the execution of the program, it should be there in the RAM. So how the system knows that it has to load from the hard disk to RAM? So it knows, for that some instructions already given by the manufacturer of the motherboard. So where it is given? It is given to the ROM, or the that is a permanent primary memory of the system. Okay, so that is there in the BIOS. BIOS means basic input output services is there in the system, that is there in the motherboard. So BIOS is there in the ROM. So ROM can be divided into two types, that is PROM, PROM, programmable read-only memory. Then it can be divided as EPROM, erasable programmable read-only memory, and EEPROM, that is electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. And RAM is volatile in nature. That means even after the electrical power is switched off, the content of RAM will lose. You cannot get it again. And ROM is permanent, that is non-volatile. Even after the electrical power is switched off, then also the contents will remain same. Like see, suppose you are typing something in the Word, okay? So you are doing something in any application in the system. So there is no UPS, suddenly the power is switched off. So you will not get the same contents again. So you have not saved, suppose. So you have to redo that same program, okay? So for that case, you can understand that RAM is not permanent. So why? Because where you are working at present, suppose you are typing in a word processor, suppose you are typing in a Word, Microsoft Word. At that time, electrical power switch off, you will not get the content again. That means during the execution of that program of Word, Microsoft Word, it is there in RAM. That is why when the power switch off, the content will lose. And see, your system will shut down, okay? Your system will turn off by default when the power is not there. But when you will restart the system, then the system knows that it has to load the operating system from hard disk to RAM. That means it never forget to load operating system from hard disk to RAM. So what is the meaning of that? The meaning of that is that instruction is there in ROM. That is why it not forget that. After that, secondary is there. So here primary memory is given there. See, primary memory is the only the type of memory which is directly accessed by the CPU. The CPU continuously read instruction to stored in the primary memory and execute them. Any data that has to be operated by the CPU is also stored. Information is transferred to various locations through the bus. Primary memories are of two types, there RAM and ROM. So already we have discussed about RAM. So after that, ROM is there. So ROM is also we have discussed, that is programmable read-only memory. EPROM, EEPROM is there. Okay, so after that, secondary memory. Secondary memory is the permanent memory, or you can say as a storage of the computer system. So permanently, if you want to store something in the system, so you can store in the secondary memory. So it is also known as auxiliary memory. In secondary memory can be divided as magnetic, optical, and USB flash and mass storage device. Okay, so now about the magnetic disk. So the technology of magnetic disk is there, you will get read write head, and some platters is also there. So data will store in that platter. To read and write data from the platter, read write head is there. So magnetic can be divided at hard disk is there, floppy is there. Magnetic disks are made of rigid metals or synthetic plastic material. The disk platter is coated on both the surface with magnetic material, and both the surface can be used for storage. The magnetic disk furnish direct access and is for both small and large computer systems. Optical device is also there. So optical device, actually generally you have to know that it sends the light signals. Okay, so CD is there, DVD is there, Blu-ray is there. So these are the optical devices. Optical devices are a storage medium from which data is read and write, read and through which is it is written by laser. Okay, light signal. Optical disc can store much more data up to 6 GB, but Blu-ray can store more than that. After that, USB flash drive is there. So USB pen drive, flash drive, already you know what about that. So you can read from here. So after that, mass storage device, where there is no read write head, and there are small chips you will get. So like you can say as a simple example, memory card. So these are the mass storage device, and you can see you can read more from this PPT. Now how can we measure memory? To measure memory, units of memory is there in your syllabus. So that is bit, byte, MB, GB, TB, PB, EB, ZB, and YB. So now see about, you have to know about the bit. So bit is 0 and 1. So if you are typing 0, that is also 1 bit. If you are typing 1, that is also 1 bit. Okay, if you are typing 0 1 1, that means 3 bit. 0 is 1 bit, 1 is 1 bit, 1 is 1 bit, that means 3 bit you have written there. So suppose 101, that means 3 bit. 1011, that is 4 bit. Okay, so now see, if there is 8 bit, then it is known as a byte, 1 byte. So like that, 1024 byte is equal to 1 kilobyte, that already you know. And 1024 kb is equal to 1 MB, megabyte. 1024 MB is equal to 1 GB. 1024 GB is equal to 1 TB. Like that, this class, format is there, so you can see from here. Okay. So after that, software is coming. So about software also you have to know, because you are going to start programming language. So what you are going to use, where you are going to use that programming language. By using that programming language, what you can do, you can develop software, you can test software. Okay, so now see, software is a set of instructions, set of programs, you can say. That programs can be made by the set of instructions. So now see, software is a set of instructions that drive a computer to perform specific tasks. These instructions tell the machine, physical computers, what to do. A set of instructions is often called a program, and several programs you can combine together to create a software. Okay, when a computer is using a particular program, it is said to be running or executing the program. The two most common types of programs are system software and application software. So different types of softwares are there. One is system software and one is application software. One more software is there, that is utility software. Okay, so now see about the application software. System software. System software is the software which control the hardwares. Okay, so that is the system software. So you can say, as the example of system software is the operating system. So different types of operating systems are already there. So Windows, Mac, Linux, so different types of operating systems are there. So what about the operating system? Operating system is the interconnection between user and hardware. Okay, that means suppose a system, how the system understand your language. To understand the system, your language, you have to use the operating system. Operating system can interconnect us to the system. That is why operating system is there. That system controls the hardware. That is why it is known as the system software. So that is the operating system. After the application software is coming. So application software is the software or program which is used to perform any application specific task. For different application, different software is used. Okay, so application software tells the computer how to accomplish specific tasks such as word processing or word or drawing for the user. So application software means, see, if you are going to if you are going to edit a photo, then Photoshop suppose you are going to use, that is the application software. That application used to create used to edit only photos. Suppose you are going to type something, for that MS Word, Microsoft Word you are using, that is one another application software. For suppose accounting purpose you are going to use Tele, that is another application software. So for different purpose, different software is used, that is application softwares. Okay, so after that, utility software is there. So utility software is actually the software which is used to perform system maintenance tasks, like disk formatter, suppose antivirus software is there. So these are the system utility software. After data and information is coming. So data means what we are going to input from the keyboard or any input output device which is meaningless, and system process over that inputted data, and it can give it can convert it to information. That means that is the meaningful. Data are the word, numbers, symbols and graphics that describe people, event, things and ideas. Data becomes information when it is used as the basis for initiating some action, for making decisions. Information are the word, numbers and graphics used as the basis for human action and decision. So you can read from here. After the specific purpose software and generic software is there in your syllabus. Specific purpose application software is a type of software created to execute one specific task. For example, a camera application on your phone will only allow you to take and share pictures. Another example would be chess game. It would only allow you to play chess. Other example for specific software are web browser, calculator, media players, calendar, program, etc. Okay, when we are taking about the software that are ideally used for most some specific purpose, then they are called specific purpose software. Example, for any grocery stores, you have a billing software. These software are meant to have details and per unit cost of all items, tax and discounts and could be used for creating bills for the users. So these are the specific purpose software. And generic software, you can say, as general purpose application software is a type of application software that can be used for a variety of tasks. It is not limited to one particular function. For example, a word processor could be classes as general purpose software, as it would allow a user to write a novel, create a restaurant menu, or even make a poster. So example of general purpose application software includes word processor, spreadsheet, and presentation software. Thank you.